It's a start of a new week, and we are getting ever so much closer to the start of the regular season for the Carolina Hurricanes. But the excitement around the team right now is still the new jerseys. And I'm super excited for my guest today is President Doug Warf as we go through all of it when it comes to just the process and the game is the way it is. All that and more on the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers, also the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my dudes here at Locked On Hurricanes. But let's be honest, you're here for my special guest today. He started with the team as an intern back in 2001, worked his way up to the vice president of marketing until 2017, left, and then as the prodigal son, came back in 2024, is now your president of your Carolina Hurricanes. I am super excited to have Doug Warf joining me today. Doug, how are you doing this afternoon? And thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Zach, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, of course. So the big excitement last Wednesday, the new jerseys got dropped. You guys had a lot of fun teasers going into it and stuff like that. And I know you kind of talked about in the press releases and stuff like that too, where it was time for like a refresh. What was kind of like the starting process like, or like what was the idea for the Hurricanes to be like, okay, it's been 6 years of this, diagonal canes, we've done a couple 6-year runs, it's time for refresh. Like what kind of started all that conversation?
Yeah, you know what, it's funny, these processes take a while, right? So I think people see them launch, but usually you're completing these maybe a full season before, like a full year prior to when it launches. So this was actually one of the first things I walked into back in July of 24 when I came back in, was kind of the late stages of, are we going to get this finalized? So it was kind of fun, like first week to walk in and say, okay, what big projects do we have that we're working on? We had to try to get a naming rights deal done with Lenovo. We had a couple of partner things going on, and then TV deal we were finishing up, and oh, by the way, let's finalize a new road jersey. So it was really a fun time. But to talk about the conversations prior to that, of what brought it about, I think we like to keep things fresh, and I think it's always a lead from the owner down of let's kind of keep things fun, engaging, let's try new things, and like you mentioned, the previous two road sets had lasted kind of 6 years each. I think on those, it's a good chance to change it. I think on the road set, it's a good chance to kind of take some chances as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it makes sense to say it was the fourth major rebrand of the franchise, which is crazy to think about that. We've only had so many in the almost getting close to 30 years now, which is another weird milestone to think of, that the Hurricanes are almost 30. But you mentioned it too with just the whole process, because like former VP of marketing Dan LaTorraca said that was one of his final projects before he left. Mike Foreman even dropped a little Easter egg of that logo on the front of the jerseys was on the side of a helmet way back when. So it was already kind of way in the back of what might have happened, and now we're seeing it on the front of a jersey too. And it's funny because you mentioned it in the releases, the fact that everyone loved the Stadium Series jerseys, and me included. And it's, there was always that wondering, would it ever see a road set, or what would the road version of it look like? And that's kind of what you guys did. Like you said kind of early on, it was like one of the early ideas. Like what made you guys as a group for the Hurricanes decide, okay, everyone loved this, let's not make it a one-off. Let's make this the road jersey.
Yeah, listen, I think our design team and Fanatics and kind of when you go through these processes, it's usually a joint venture of trying to explore these things. You look at dozens, if not more, of options, and we kept coming back to, I guess, some key elements of the Stadium Series jersey. I have my jacket right here. that I kind of wear every day. And it's got that two-tone logo that was on the Stadium Series jersey. And it's funny, I wear this jacket a lot. I always get compliments. It's one of those things that people are always like, oh man, I love that. I love the way that looks. And, to the point that Mike Foreman made, we used that logo a lot over the last season. They had tested it a year prior after the Stadium Series, and anything it has gone on has done well. So, we knew we wanted to kind of play with the primary logo, look at it with a little bit different lens. This was a good chance to bring that primary logo back that was on the Stadium Series jersey. And then as we kept playing with different elements of the jersey, it's like, man, just the Stadium Series jersey, it was so well done. Mm-hmm. And it has so many great memories for our fans of just kind of this great moment. And I know, I get that was one game. One game does not a history make. I get that. But it's this really cool, I think, homage or hat tip to that Stadium Series game in 2023 with a jersey set that we still think looks fantastic.
No, 100%. Like I said, I know the originals came out, they were flying off the shelf. I don't know if anyone was you could not early on try to get those things because they were just going so quick. And then you go to the Stadium Series game. I was at it in the corner farthest away from at the time PNC Arena, and it was just a great experience. And like you said, memories. I mean, you got the tailgate. It's 33 degrees outside, perfect sky. Then they win 4-1 and all that. Yeah. And like you said, you touched on all of these, like the tailgating element is part of it and stuff like that. And I like how the fact that you guys kind of basically just kind of kept it the same, but with a couple small tweaks that kind of encapsulated what that moment is, but also kind of bringing in a lot of elements too. Like the North Carolina flag goes from the all black out to the bright red and black. And then you bring Struttin Stormy back, which is the absolute best nickname for a logo like that. Like what, because I know you mentioned that you love Struttin Stormy. Like why was that so important for you guys to bring that little bit of an element back of having Stormy on the jersey in that element?
Well, and kudos, you mentioned Dan Lataraka earlier. I think he had reached out to an artist who did a fantastic job with the Struttin Stormy setup a number of years ago. And that merch has been popular for, the better part of 3 seasons. Anytime we put it on something, people love it. To your point earlier, when I was fan Doug, I've got a couple pieces of Struttin Stormy merch that I liked as well. And they were kind of some of my favorite wears. Similar thing, anytime you wear it, you get a lot of comments, a lot of people compliment on it. I think what we liked about this, you want a jersey to tell a story. And instead of just the moment of the Stadium Series, I think what we liked about that was the connection to that collegiate market. And, obviously that was played at NC State's home stadium, but there's still elements of that were in the jersey itself. And, all the local teams have, a mascot mark logo like Struttin Stormy. And we felt like, that's one of the reasons the original marketing team went out to do that, was to kind of create our own mark that kind of had that collegiate feel. And so I think putting it on this jersey was just natural because of the ties to the Outdoor Stadium Series and the kind of collegiate nature of that. It just was an easy fit. And we like to take some chances. I'm not going to sit here and say we thought everyone would love that. And we knew that it would be, I would say, very popular locally and that the national media would be upset. And, if you're a traditionalist and you think that a jersey is supposed to be, the road's going to be the inverse of the home and stripes have to match the socks and you don't change them for 40 years. If that's your thought, then you're going to hate a lot of what we do, and that's okay. And I think we, to some extent, like the bunch of jerks, we somewhat embrace that.
No, you're totally right, and that's the thing that I love about just the team, the fan base, and all that stuff in the area. Like you said, Raleigh does it so much different. Like you've got the tailgating, you've got just all the traditions. Storm surges. I know it's kind of a little bit more tamer when it first started, but it's like, they just do things differently. Like you said, too, for you guys want to be unique. You want to do something different, and it is very different when you look at it with just some of those elements. And maybe some people are like, okay, but why is the road jersey so much different? It doesn't match with the other ones. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to. You're given different elements. It's different looks. So why not?
There's a fun piece of that. Like I like that we have 3 jerseys and really 4 when you consider the Whalers. that are all different looks. And I would guarantee you if we lined up 20 fans, there would not be agreement as to how to rank the 4, right? And I think that's what's fun about it is you then have different pieces that, hey, I love this part, I like this. And there are some folks in there who would dissect, okay, I wish I could put this logo and this. And I think that's fun. Like I actually enjoy that. I think if you like Penn State's football uniforms and like the tradition of them, you probably aren't going to agree. If you like Oregon's, you're probably going to think we don't do enough, right? So there's a sliding scale inside of that as to way that plays out. But I like that we have different options that usually speak to different people.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's always going to be different, unique, and just find different ways to make the jerseys work, and however people want to get them for sure. And collectors. I mean, there's people who probably have every single jersey, and it's just another one to add to the collection for sure. So we are going to talk. We talked about it a little bit, but we're going to go more into the jersey process, what that whole timeline looks like, and all of that stuff. So stick around. We'll talk about that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. I am with President of the Carolina Hurricanes, Doug Warf. We kind of started talking about the fresh look, all the stuff that's kind of in the elements of the jersey. We did touch on it a little bit, but I wanted to get your thoughts, or I guess maybe for people who don't know, because you said you started this out a year in advance, and I know Jack, one of the social graphic media people, showed a photo of him and Shane Willis kind of like trying to measure out measurements and stuff like that. What's kind of like the process that it takes to do that? You said it takes a year to go from that to where it is now as video and release. Here's the jersey. Like, what's that like?
Well, I think I can tell you what the traditional is, and then I can tell you sometimes we aren't always traditional. But it is a very long process. So you're usually looking at probably 18 months before launch, maybe even 2 years before launch, you start to look at them. Typically, the league likes to have you locked in to a change at least 10 months prior, but they aim for 12 months prior. So the reason you're doing that is because of video games and ordering, and a lot of the stuff we're looking at, we already look at what the 26, 27 early merch orders are going to look like. The suppliers, the makers need to know that we're going to change X this or how those things are going to look. So you have to make those decisions pretty well in advance. And then it kind of goes into this, you almost forget about it, right? Like you do a lot of work the summer prior, you get everything done, and then it's, almost 12 months later, you go to launch the jersey. So it's kind of a fun process. Usually you work in tandem with the NHL and Fanatics. Typically the team will come to the league and Fanatics and say, hey, we want to change our home or our road or however we're looking at it. And here are some elements we'd like to incorporate. From there, it can be internal where you create some designs. It can be Fanatics led, or it can be third party led. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. But typically you kind of get like let's get it down to 1 or 2 prototypes. And then at some point, the league and Fanatics will make a literal prototype to send to you that you do those tests with. And that's where you look at how does it look on camera? How does it look if we're skating? How does it look in lights? And you may usually change things. You change widths of stripes. When we've done this before, does it have laces or not? The thing that I think people don't realize is how much time we all then put into, is this 4 inches wide or 4.5 inches wide? Right. Does this come to a V here, or is it a hard line? All of those things that you probably don't put a ton of thought into, we pour over, at least people on our teams pour over. And then you get a final. And actually, this was the final prototype we received from the league probably 10 months ago. if you agree with it, then you sign it, send it back. It gets signed here. So this was from 12/9. So from December 9th is when we said, yep, this is what we want to roll with. And that's kind of the process of the whole. We were pretty close on that prior. We'd already said yes to one, but they make one jersey that will live as what's the kind of the true final, which is, it's a fun process, but it's very long. It's very involved. And that's just making the jersey, not launching the jersey. So.
No, right, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy thing about it. Like because I talked to Dan a long time ago, and he's like, yeah, it's a process trying to, because I know like the league has to have a certain number of years you have to run with their jersey. It's not like you can just keep swapping in and out. Like for people who don't know, like what is the typical window of like this is your jersey for X number of years before you could even think about maybe doing a different one?
Yeah, the league likes at least 3 years. And I think even from a team standpoint, you want to do that. And, I had some fans hit me on social media asking questions. We learned early on from others that you don't like to make minor changes because people see that as a cash grab. If you just took this and, hey, let's change out these two shoulder patches or whatever it might be, they don't like that. So when you do these types of things, you try to find something that can last at least 3 years, if not longer. But that's what the league's charging you with on your home and your away. Third jerseys, they ask for that. I think people play with those a little bit more, but your minimum target's probably a 3-season wear.
No, definitely for sure. And you did mention earlier like that there's a traditional way of doing it, but you guys did it a little bit different. In terms of the Hurricanes, what was that little difference of the process that you guys went through compared to maybe what some teams or what fans might know as traditional progression?
Well, I think that the spectrum is pretty wide there.
Right.
And it's funny too, I went through this whenever 2013, 14, when we redid one. I was kind of like Dan. One of my last projects before I left last time was what's the current home or the current red home jersey was the last thing I signed off on before I left last time. You go through those processes and you realize that even when some people say, hey, this Montreal has the perfect jersey set and they're inverse, it's like, well, they're not really inverse. The striping's different. This is different.
Yeah.
But they use the same crest and they use the same shoulder logos until it feels inverted. I think there's an early model that is, hey, home is road and you just flip it for white and that's what makes it. I think there's a lot of people who, I saw a lot of our comments of you, quote unquote, identity crisis. That makes me laugh because I don't think that's at all. But I appreciate the point, but I totally disagree with it from a standpoint of, yes, we have 3 different jerseys with 3 different crests. Yes, our primary with red, white, and black is currently not on any of those 3 crests. Like I get some of that, but at the same time, I think that's kind of fun to kind of where we are. And I like the fact that there is a variety there. And I like the fact that our red and black primary, when you look at it, you still know it's the Hurricanes. So to me, it's not a brand identity issue. But I get that some people want that red, white, and black primary on the home, the road, and the third. It's just the other elements you play with. I don't think that will really ever be our team, or at least not as we're constructed right now. So I think that's a fun piece to play with.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, it's the Hurricanes do things differently. With like you said, with how you guys are constructed with Tom Dunn as the owner, you as president, you guy Eric Tolsky's the GM, Rod Burns, our head coach. It's been a different, kind of like an energy or like just an aura around the team. They want to do stuff differently, and you guys do that. And I know some people mentioned like, oh, why is the logo red and white? And it's kind of like, well, if you do it a certain way, then you're kind of you're almost looking like another team and stuff like that. You kind of want to have your own identity, and it makes sense of why you want to do something like that. But I mean, and the thing I really like about these jerseys is like the originals, they stood out so well, but these ones, and I know you've mentioned it too, the logos and the red accents and the black pop off so much more on the white. Like, what for you? Like, what about just that change from the black jersey to the white just brought these colors out so much with the stripes and the logo and the nameplates and all that?
It's a great question. And I think it's one of the things, I think when you see it in person, it really jumps, and I know it's always hard when you're seeing something in a video for the first time. And, I laughed, when we did some of the teasers, there are already people saying, I hate it. And it's like, you don't even know what it is. How can you hate it? And they just hate change. And I get that idea. But when you see these in person, the red and black logo just jumps off of the crisp white background. And I think it really gives this really nice contrast. And I liked the red and black logo itself when it was on the black Stadium Series jersey, but it blended so much. It was just dark. It looked menacing. I think with this jersey, it really is almost more of a bright pop. It's like a light in your face. And I think that's going to be kind of cool. I think when people see it on the ice, I think all of our fans are going to love it because it really has this nice element to it of a really stark contrast. Which is odd because you think about if we had white in the middle of the logo like we do with our primary, you'd think, all right, well, that becomes the focal point, but the full logo becomes the focal point when contrasted against a white background when it's in the two-tone.
Yeah, no, I completely 100%. Yeah,
it kind of confusing as possible as I said it, Zach. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, it makes sense because like when you look at, like you said, with the original Steams jerseys, it was just red and black and it blended in. If you did the red and white logo, well, then it's just the reverse effect. It just blends in with the rest of the jersey. So like you said, you go two-tone black, red, it just pops off more. So I totally agree, and it makes a lot of sense because now you're drawing the focal point and it just jumps out at you. So no, totally agree with that. So there was a lot of excitement around these threads, especially with the fact of the teaser videos and the actual video drop, but the tying into the band and all that stuff. And I think I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the excitement around these jerseys and just how, with the video and the idea came about of unveiling these jerseys. Stick around. We'll talk about it in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. I am with President of the Carolina Hurricanes, Doug Warf. We've talked about the fresh look, talked about the process that goes into making these jerseys well in advance, and now it's time for the excitement. And you mentioned how fans are really gonna love when it hits the ice and all that stuff. And you talked about the teaser video, like the one that you guys did before the drop. It was a drum, and instantly in my mind, I'm like, Stadium Series. Lock it in. I know what the vibe is going to be like. And when the video actually drops, you got the bright stadium lights, you got the marching band in there. Like you just guys were able just to tie into all those college traditional tailgates and just the energy with that. Like for you guys, what was that process like? Just being like coming up with the concept of how we're going to reveal these jerseys to the fan base and bringing it from 2023 to now, here's your 2025 road jerseys.
Well, I give all the credit to our creative team. Cato Cataldo leading it, but Matt Suter, and then our videographers. That was all in-house production, which I thought was fantastic. Used a local set and a local group to help us produce, but really in-house team doing it. And Cato had a vision. He sold me on 2 ideas in a meeting. And I was like, okay, I kind of dig this other one a little bit better. And he was like, man, I can tell the hesitancy. Don't worry. We're going to crush it when we do it. Because, you start to think about our players aren't always the best actors, and you start putting bands around them. And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of, but I think he nailed it. Like, I think they did a phenomenal job. I thought they did a great job with the lead up and the teasers, but the video itself, looked perfect. And it did what I think we wanted to do, which is add excitement, tie in the collegiate atmosphere, have some fun with it, but at the same time, show the jersey. There have been a couple of jerseys that launched recently that we watched 4-minute videos of, and you still aren't sure what the jersey looks like. It's a little odd to me. So it was great that we were able to have the full kits in-house with 3 players, about a month ago. Went to a local studio in Raleigh, did the shoot, got everything kind of done there, and somehow no leaks. Props to the NC State band, who was used a lot, and cheer team in that video, because that
was a lot of people.
You get worried about those things, Zach, when you're leading up to these, but I thought our team did a fantastic job. launching the items. And I'll also say, and not maybe this is what you're going to ask next, sorry to jump.
Nope,
I think the supporting merchandise lines around it, if you haven't seen it, I mean, I've had to like put my credit card in the freezer so I don't just go down and buy everything that we've got right now. But
right.
a lot of really quarter zips, the hoodies. There's a lot of stuff that use the elements, that use Struttin Stormy, that use the two-tone Kings logo, that actually have the two-tone flag logo. And it's been cool to see in our store. Top selling items each of the last handful of days has been obviously the jersey. Top selling items right under it are items from the line of the jersey, whether it's the new t-shirts, quarter zips, hoodies, etc. So our merch team did a great job getting that stuff together and ready. And that stuff, a lot of it was, used in that photo shoot as well. So you kind of had a blend of not only the jersey, but the supporting items that go around it. And I think that's kind of fun for our fan base too.
No, yeah, I love how you guys kind of incorporate the band, the cheerleaders, and like you said, the merchandise too. And yeah, you're right, but the merch, like the first merch item that kind of automatically caught my eye was that Struttin Stormy on the khaki and red hat.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. The scarf, I mean, because I got my original Stadium Series, the blackout scarf, and of course you guys got the white ones now, and it's just the merch is absolutely fantastic. And you said the jerseys are already selling. I think I know on a bunch of the shops, they're already flying off the shelves already. So it's already a popular item. People are like, give it to me now. I want this. And it makes sense.
It's been really impressive. It's been 2-1 over a lot of our previous jersey launches. So if you look at kind of what we've had recently, Whalers retro, reverse retro, the 25th anniversary, we've doubled the sales the first couple of days as we did over those items. So it's been really impressive. The only one that it has not caught yet, but it's keeping pace with is, funny enough, the Stadium Series jersey. So it shows excitement around kind of that set. That the two out of I think the last 6 jersey launches, this is 1 and 2 in jersey sales in the first handful of days.
Which is wild to think about too. Like you said, you got the original Stadium Series, and then you get this road version of it. Like you said, it's 1-2, and it makes sense. And it when you look at the striping's pretty much the same. The numbers, like you said, just a couple small tweaks of just patches, and then the main logo and just the jersey color, and it's right there. And it's funny you mentioned the 25th because I thought the 25th jersey was probably. I know I got one. I know a lot of people got one because those were what we all grew up with from the late 90s through the 2000s to 2010, 2011 was just those originals.
Some already grown, but yes, I get it.
Yeah. But it's, you said the excitement around this road jersey, almost the Stadium Series, because it's basically what it looks like. But like you said, the excitement of it is really high. And the thing I really like too, when I was seeing all you're doing your press conference in the store, and all the promotional stuff of the jerseys in the store and stuff like that too. I noticed, and I know you posted about it, was those custom shoes that you got. Those were absolutely fantastic. What went about of that? Just be able to get some custom hand painted sneakers with the Struttin Stormy and the logo on the sides.
Thanks for noticing that. I wasn't sure if anybody would even notice when I wore them, but then it became a focal point in the media availability. There's a lady downtown, Maggie Kane, who's got a great restaurant, a place at the table, a nonprofit, and was speaking with her the other day, and she had these cool custom shoes. And I'm like, Maggie, where did you get these custom shoes? And she said, hey, there's an artist downtown who does them. And I said, all right, I got to get some for the jersey launch. I do love Struttin Stormy. I do love the two-tone logo. And so I kind of gave her the idea, and she definitely crushed those. They came out better than I expected, and they're hand painted, which I had to I could show because there's some really fine detail in it. And I asked her, I said, hey, I'm going to give you something that's Struttin Stormy that's kind of delicate and intricate, and she nailed it. And I'm nervous to wear them. I was going to wear them all the time, and now I'm nervous to wear them because they're so nice. It's like this beautiful piece of art. I don't want to mess up, but
right,
we'll see those at some point in time during the season.
Oh yeah, the first night, if it's on the road or something like that, or maybe a surprise. Hey, we're gonna wear these at a home game for the fans to see it in person, because unless you're not on the road, you can't go on the road and see it. Maybe then, but
I think you'll see the whites at home a couple times this year.
Hey, you heard it here first, everyone. We might be able to see those at Lenovo, but those shoes were absolutely made. It almost looked like you couldn't even you knew those were like hand painted, but just the detail is like almost like a 1-for-1 image. It's like it looked exactly like it was. So yeah, fantastic job with those. And I just, like you said, with the excitement around all of this, like for you and everyone within the organization, like what's the excitement been like since, the launch? You're hearing the feedback from all the fans, you're seeing the jersey sales, like, and even not just the jersey, but like you said, all the other merch as well. Like, what's the excitement been like in the organization? Like, okay, we might have definitely hit something here.
Yeah, it's been great. Anytime you get to do these, it's fun to do. That there's going to be some folks. I joked about on X that it's like trying to choose your favorite music genre. There's going to be people who don't love it. I think what we focused on was what do our fans think, and I think the overwhelming response from our fans that they love it and they like the setup, and it's fun too. Our staff is similar. A lot of the supporting pieces that we had of merch we had out up here on our main office floor. And you kind of know you're onto something when everybody stops and makes comments and says, hey, where'd this come from? Hey, what is this? Where do I buy this? Like, and you start to see that because we're around it a lot. So if there's something that jumps to us is like, hey, this is new and different and fresh, it's kind of jumped to everybody else. So that part has been just really exciting to see the response. I will say that, we're 30 some days from opening night. So I haven't been as locked on to social and other things as I normally would be. So I can't say that I've been out in the community hearing it exactly from the street, but I know what we're getting internally is a ton of positivity, which is exciting.
Yeah, and that's great, and I love what you did there. That was very nice. But I will say, I've seen a lot of good positivity. Then, of course, you're going to have some are like like you said, fear of change, or maybe there's something different they want to do about it. But you know what? Like you said, it's different when you're looking at a video. You're looking at a 2D photo. Let's see what it looks like on the ice. You see what it looks like in full getup, but seeing it in person, going to the store, totally different experience. So, guys, if you haven't, get to the eye, get your jersey. If not, you go to the Carolina Pro Shop, NHL.com, wherever you get it. Make sure you get these jerseys because for me, I think they're 10 out of 10. They're absolutely fantastic. Great jerseys to add to your collection. But, Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I know you've been a busy man with not just the jerseys, but like stadium renovations, having, like you said, last year, having to do naming rights and everything else that's going on. So I commend you and your entire staff, and everyone within the organization for just basically having to find time to do this, that, and the other, all going on right as we lead up to another hurricane season. But this has been a lot of fun to just be able to talk to you finally one-on-one and kind of just, pick your brain about this whole process and learn more about these amazing jerseys. Just thank you so much for taking the time with me today.
Zach, thank you, man. We love what we do, and it's an honor to work for the brand and for the team, and we do it for the fans. That's what it's all about, is getting 18,700 plus in Lenovo Center and having fun together. And I love all the things that we get to do that. So thank you for being a part of it. And thanks for what you add to the Hurricanes community. It's much appreciated.
No, thank you. Yes, and guys, make sure to get to Lenovo. We got to keep that 100+ sellout streak going. Let's get to 200 next. That is the next goal. But Doug, before I let you go, the floor is yours, sir. Plug wherever you need to plug, where people can find you. Anything around the Carolina Hurricanes, the floor is yours, sir.
No one needs to find me. I'm not that exciting, Zach. But, October 9th, opening night. I think we're in a great spot. I think this team is as good as we've been in forever, if not probably the best team we've opened a season with. So we're excited to get people out here to see things. Some of the construction that's underway will be wrapping shortly after opening night. So we're in a slight pardon our dust mode as we might get some people back in for preseason games in a handful of days.
Right.
But it's going to be an amazing year ahead, and I can't wait for it. So October 9th, there's still tickets available, but that will be sellout number 118. And to your point, we'll just keep rolling from there.
Yes, exactly, guys. You heard it here first. Get number 118 on opening night on October 9th. We are ever so much closer to the start of another hurricane season. But, guys, this will be the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making this your first listen day. Your second listen, check out Locked On NHL Podcast, where there is no offseason, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter the most with the local coverage you love from Locked On, Find Locked On NHL on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast. If you want to keep up with me, One True Zach on X. Podcast is LO_Hurricanes. Also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin. I do have link trees. Check out all my written content at the Hawkers. A lot of stuff is coming out recently, talking about goalie depth charts, the jerseys, all that stuff. So make sure to keep on top of all that. If you want to check out the Surgecast, my other show, you can find it on all podcast platforms and on YouTube for Locked On Hurricanes. We're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure to follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star notification in a review, and I might just read on the show for YouTube. Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up button to let me know if you like the show, especially since we had Mr. Doug Warf on the podcast. Share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Monday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Monday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.